Since the beginning, the humanity needed to plan all the activities. During primitive time, people established very simple goals, and the work was divided among them, and the organization was according to their sex and age, with the aim to survive, including their whole participation, in such a way that a great collective work was carried out. Once that the primitive men settled and left the nomad life, the specification of occupations motivated a more detailed planning because of the creation of new goals, and the use of workforce was according to their sex. Planning started before the Industrial Revolution with the employment in workshops, the art craft, and the specialization of labor force in the industry. It is important to mention that when industries were created and the exploitation of men by men was applied, it was essential the work planning with the aim to optimize resources and to reach the main objective, such as the accumulation of wealth. The Industrial Revolution led to a quick and disorganized growth of the companies. It made more difficult their management. This led to the origin of a scientific approach based on an administrative ideology, which would replace the dominant empiricism that was the classical theory of administration. Frederick Taylor, based on personal studies, designed simple positions, specifying the tasks, methods to use in those chores, and the labor relation among the existing posts, which brought as a consequence the division and the specialization of work. The alarming conditions for Taylor were the correct adaptation of instruments and tools for the work team and the production team, the distribution of machines, as well as the improvement of the work atmosphere. According to Stoner, Taylor developed 4 basic principles which allowed to obtain a better efficiency of the worker. Number 1. Principle of planning. It uses the science instead of the improvisation through the planning of the method. Number 2. Principle of preparation. It chooses the workers scientifically according to their abilities to train and prepare them to produce much more and better according to the method which was planned. Also, preparing machines and equipment of production, as well as the physical distribution and the delivery of the materials and tools. Number 3. Principle of control. It controls the work to certificate that is being done according to the established rules and the expected plan. Number 4. Principle of execution. It distributes differentially the attributions and responsibilities for getting a disciplined work. Taylor pointed out that for getting success using these principles was necessary a complemental revolution, which he considered was the essence of the administrative classic theory. On his part, Henry Fayol, who first systematized the study of the administrative behavior and traced a diagram of a coherent doctrine of the administration, focused on the total organization, divided the administrative operations in groups related among them, describing the main functions that should be realized in any organization. These are technical, commercial, and financial, as well as countable and management functions. The globalization is the result of the integration of economic and financial sectors around the world, which raised due to the rapid and meaningful technological processes, especially in the information technology and communication areas. Among the geopolitical changes occurred in the last third of the 20th century, it can be mentioned the collapse of the ex-Soviet Union and the origin of economical blocs in countries such as European Economic Community and the Mercosur, an ideology which is maximum is the liberation of markets, initially applied to the financial and economic interchanges and then spread to all the human activity sectors, including the social one, education, health, among others. It cannot be omitted the problem that globalization has generated in Latin America, especially on the education sphere in the 21st century, not only for the inequality, but also for the economy's productive and efficiency judgment, by which it is pretended to evaluate all the educational processes, overall the higher education institutions. The globalization has defined challenges and defies for the higher educational institutions in the current century. Mexico must create public politics for the higher education in order to link the university work with the development of a society, which must be prepared for those changes that the globalization is requiring. Those public politics must set the basis to support the society of knowledge. Government and university must coordinate each other in order to work to get preparation for the human resources, getting higher academic and human quality. The research that university does must be linked to the government public politics. The expressions technological revolution or scientific technical revolution refer to the technique transformations and their economic and social implications during the third industrial revolution since the second middle of the 20th century. However, it is used frequently to refer to the first two great transformations that deserve the names of economic revolutions: Neolithic Revolution and Industrial Revolution in the 18th and 19th centuries. The known scientific community became the leader of the discoveries and inventions in all the categories through the organized studies concentrated mostly in the universities and specialized research centers. The contemporary scientific technological revolution, besides of affecting the ways of production with its evident consequences, goes through these ways in the relations of production to penetrate and revolutionize all the areas in the human life. The speed that the world moves currently has been an essential incentive to get the development of directed tools and save time and physical and mental effort. A further strategic decision remits to the necessity of reinforcing the scientific and technological ability of higher educational institutions in Latin America. The scientific technological revolution has allowed a progress in the world by leaps and bounds, but at the same time it has become the main social problem of the science and the main challenge for those higher educational institutions. It is in the universities where the science and technology are produced, and therefore the Mexican government has designed public politics in this sector because the globalization requires. Otherwise, Mexico will not be part of the progress.
The answer to the changes that Mexico requires is in using planning as a process and an instrument. Without this, there is no direction or a specific goal. As much the government as the HEI must have a team of experts to elaborate the planning, which is a process in continuous evaluation. To plan, it is necessary to ask oneself three questions. How am I? Where do I want to get? What do I need to do to reach or get what I want?
Planning is a natural and peculiar human activity that shows the man as a rational being, where it is considered necessary to take decisions and organize its actions based on a specific objective, stipulating the steps that must be followed to reach the goal. Peter Drucker defines the strategic planning as a continuous process which consists of adopting business decisions systematically with the highest possible knowledge respect to their future nature. The strategic planning must be dynamic, participative, permanent, comprehensive, flexible, easy to evaluate, innovative, and inclusive.
A multidisciplinary team of experts are the ones who carry out decisions, taking into account the possibilities to find out solutions through the investigations that lead to previous problems inside the strategic planning.
The philosophical stage in the process of strategic planning is indispensable because on it depends the good functioning and consolidation of a company or institution. Inherent in this stage are concepts about human beings, society, education, and learning. The philosophical stage is integrated by the mission, vision, principles, and values. Mission is the reason of an organization, the way to be guided by general and specific goals in a short, medium, and long term, which requires the strategies designed to get the fulfillment. Mission components answer these questions. Who are we? What do we exist for? Whom do we serve? What do we offer? How do we achieve it? What is our philosophy? The mission must be revised every determined period according to the current social context. The vision is the image referring to the future of an organization, which it is pretended to be achieved during a determined period. The principles and values are a group of morals, beliefs, and rules that guide and regulate the life of an organization. In this stage, it is analyzed internally and externally the institution to identify its strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. In the internal analysis are identified the strengths. This is the diagnosis of financial resources, services, products, internal capabilities, investigation, and progress that the institution possesses. The weaknesses are limitations that do not allow the institution to fulfill its mission. In the external analysis are identified the opportunities. These ones are political, financial, social, and technological factors that can be taken to beneficiate the institution's vision. In here, we can also notice the threats that are no more than the factors that are out of control in the institution, clearly talking about aspects of the current and future environment that may have a negative effect, direct or indirectly, in the institution. The recommended technique for this stage is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, SWOT. The programmatical stage determines the orientation that the activities, components, and products of a plan or project needs to possess. According to the mission and vision is that the objectives of the organization are established. These ones must answer to the questions what about the organization. This means what are we going to do or what we want to achieve. In other words, the short, medium, and long-term objectives are defined. The strategic objectives or long-term objectives are projected to be reached in periods of 3 to 5 years. The tactical objectives or medium-term objectives are based in function of the general objective. The operational objectives or short-term objectives are carried out in a period less than a year. The recommended technique for this stage is scenarios design. The importance of the operative stage lies in the design of strategies that exemplify the how. This means the way or the path that is tracked to reach the achievement of the objectives suggested. Henry Mintzberg defines the strategy as the pattern or plan that gathers the main goals and the politics of the organization, and at the same time establish the coherent sequence of action to be carried out. The recommended technique for this stage is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, SWOT. The quantitative stage importance lies in allowing the set of quantifiable goals in order to evaluate the level of progress in the achievement of the goals or objectives, reason by which is based on indicators that describe the goals, the ones that will be measured. The indicators also allow measuring the results, setting quantifiable goals to evaluate the objectives. Goals are set as specific results that the institution is trying to achieve and that allow to reach its objectives. These ones must include information about quantity, time, cost, and need to be verifiable. The resources assignment is part of the final process in the quantitative stage. This process needs to be carried out according to the established priorities in the already settled goals, because these are the ones that command the way in which the financial, human, physical, and technological resources are assigned. The recommended technique for this stage is analysis and fact interpretation.
The strategic planning as a process involves a systematic organizational effort, well-defined, that aims to the thorough specification of the objectives and strategies of an organization, as well as the responsibilities assignment for its execution, including the involvement of the organization members. The strategic planning process also involves the competitive advantage analysis as well as the institution and environment weaknesses, formulating and running strategies that allow reaching the purpose established in the long term. The prospective planning uses the planning as an instrument.
The strategic planning as instrument constitutes a conceptual or referential frame that guides the institutional management of the organization with the purpose of realizing the vision and mission. As instrument, the planning is captured in a strategic plan, so it becomes in a kind of sailing letter. Once that the analysis, reflection, and discussion process was developed, this is where it is made explicit the mission, vision, objectives, strategies, activities, resources, indicators, and goals that finally become in plans and projects.
For the prominent investigators Axel Didrikson and Alma Herrera, the prospective planning is a futurist and viable planning that can be carried out because the objectives are achieved facing a desirable future. This planning is efficiently innovative due to the participation of the different agents involved, the ones that succeed in agreements and alliances to make it a reality through the appropriate strategies. One of the prospective planning characteristics is the consensus. This is the political agreement in all its parts, as a permanent axis in the cultural chain, in which the institutional interests are placed before the political ones. It evaluates the cost-benefit of the possible scenarios. The prospective planning uses a critical analysis methodology in which the raw material is the creation of the scenarios. This is formulated from the detection of key events, breakup variables, and germs of change that will enhance the institution's development. It takes into account the medium and long period objectives. Among the possible scenarios, always needs to be chosen the futurist one, that with a viable future. The prospective planning has two organisms. The prospective institutional devices, PID. These ones have to coordinate, lead, and take decisions made by a team of experts. The prospective cross-disciplinary observatory, of which function is to serve as a consulting company as well as to collect information in order to take important decisions. This is the evaluator staff. The prospective planning makes use of the integration of efforts technique to analyze the problem.
The strategic and prospective planning are not isolated, but complement each other. The scientific and technological revolution as well as the globalization are demanding from the government and the higher education institutions to plan new ways that can lead to the knowledge society, where planning can be more than just an activity, but the only option to fight against the menaces and weaknesses that the institutions may suffer during the development that the current age is demanding. The prospective and strategic planning are the principal tools to face the challenges that the 21st century is showing us.
The students of Master Degree in Higher Educational Science, Group 44 of Universidad Autónoma de Guerrero, Campus Acapulco, coached by Dr. Nelson Valle López, hopes that the information already shown help you as a cognitive and methodological support in your institution transformation.